I found it slightly odd that the UK courts didn't block the policy outright, but the ECHR did. That's what's angering so many people.
Well, that's not strictly true. The ECHR didn't make a ruling on the policy. The application was for an interim injunction preventing the removal of the Rwandan asylum seekers. The core issues, which is whether the policy itself is unlawful, will be considered in a few weeks. So this was just an interim ruling preventing their removal.
Is it, in your position, and I underlined clearly the years of experience that you have in this field, do you understand as a lawyer the anger that some people felt that a government that they had elected could not enact a policy that they had supported because of a court meeting in the late hours in Strasbourg and just saying, no, this can't happen, even if it was subject to the Supreme Court and the judicial review and the rest of it? Do you understand that anger on the street?
Yes, I do, but we've got to comply with the law as it stands today. The government could bring in new statutes.
Yeah.
I mean, the government could withdraw us from the European Convention on Human Rights. I don't think that's ever going to happen. It's literally impossible for this country to withdraw from the ECHR. And the reason is that we are members of the Council of Europe. We drafted that treaty. It will be akin to Russia and Belarus, who are the two member states not signed up to the treaty. We'd be like a pariah state. Is that the look that we want to send out to the world, that we don't respect human rights? I don't think that's going to happen. It's all political. I think it's gesturing by the government to say, look, we've tried to do it, but we got blocked.
Yeah.
So, no, I'd be very surprised if we ever came out of the convention.
That's absolutely fascinating, because Priti Patel's argument herself very much is that we want to retain the good stuff that is in that convention. And as everybody has been saying, go back to the 50s and Churchill, and it's a very British thing as well. And lots of it is the right thing to do. But she wants to say, get out of that and enshrine it in a new UK/British/England and Scotland Bill of Rights. Surely that is the way forward, or are you saying that's simply impossible?
No, I'd be very surprised if that happened. The convention
hang on a minute. For legal reasons, Ivan, or for political reasons?
Oh, no, legally they can do that, absolutely. We're a sovereign state,
yeah,
and we can enact laws. We elect governments to do that. To take us out of the convention with all its jurisprudence, it's going to be a task in itself. Look, the reality is, in the last 30 years, asylum applications have constantly reduced. We're at the lowest level of the number of asylum seekers seeking refugee in the UK. Back in 2000, it was 100,000 people. It's around 25,000. We can more than cope with it. What Priti Patel should be doing is talking to the French, having a bilateral treatment so that we can send people back to France to have their asylum applications heard there. And we could have done that before while we were members of the EU. But we can't now, because since we left, the Dublin Convention, which allowed us to take people back to France, doesn't apply. So Priti Patel should be focusing on talking to the French and having a bilateral agreement.
Christopher Mayer, former ambassador and used to work in Number 10 back in the day of John Major, was saying that his eyes rolled to the back of his head when he heard Labour. I'm not saying you're Labour, you're a lawyer, and that's why we've asked you to come and join the conversation. But he said his eyes rolled to the back of his head when he heard Labour say, talk to the French. Christopher's point was, we have been talking to the French forever and a day.
No, look, it's bad planning. We knew we were coming out of the EU. We knew this was happening. We knew the Dublin Convention would not apply post-Brexit. With all that knowledge, there was just simply no planning. And we find ourselves in a mess now, because previously we were returning around 70,000 people back to France. So far, we've returned 0 since we left the European Union. So it's just bad planning on the part of the Home Office. Look, we've got 500,000 illegal people in this country. Estimates around that sort of. We're not focusing on addressing that huge problem, and trying really to attack not that many refugees coming every year who are seeking protection from persecution. So this is all political by the government. Before, people were coming on the lorries. We couldn't see them. See no evil, hear no evil. It's so visible now with people coming across on the boats. The government is forced to do something. But the numbers are actually less than they were 2 years ago. Those are the facts.
Sure. Fascinating that and I didn't interrupt you because, as you say, those are the facts, and that's important that folk know that. But while you were talking, Ivan, we were running some pictures of people crowded into a dinghy and a lifeboat sailing alongside them. Do you accept the argument made by ministers that part of this policy, Rwanda, unpleasant though it is in some people's mind, and Christopher Mayer said I'd have sent the plane and have the argument afterwards, it is to make it just not worth the risk to pay large amounts of money to criminals and to risk your own life getting into one of those inflatables. Do you accept there's any merit in that argument?
No, there is no merit. I don't believe there is, because the core reason people come to the UK, majority of asylum seekers are coming here for two reasons. One, that we uphold the rule of law here. And two, because they've got family here. And that's what drives them to come here. It's the families who are sending money back to their relatives to bring them over here. So I would be very surprised if the numbers get less. I mean, look, they'll take a risk. If you're fleeing persecution and your life's in danger, you're not going to worry about Rwanda policy. You'll deal with it when you arrive here. Look, the policy is a collective measure. And this is a problem with human rights. Human rights are individual rights. So when you have a collective policy, the courts for time and time will rule it to be unlawful. And the government lawyers just haven't got a grasp of this. The courts, when they look at this in July, will, in my view, render this policy unlawful.
Ivan Sampson, it has been a genuine pleasure talking to you. I agree with a lot of what you said. I didn't agree with all of it, and I hope I made that crystal clear. But that was genuinely enlightening and factual. So thank you very much indeed for finding time for us this Saturday afternoon. You keep in touch with us as well. Thank you. So that was Ivan Sampson, a specialist immigration lawyer at Privatus. And let me just underline one thing that he said in the middle of it. And I think both Dennis McShane and Christopher talked about it, Christopher Mayer, at the beginning of the programme as well. Whatever happens right here and right now, there will be a judicial review of this policy, potentially right up to the level of our own Supreme Court, and that is at the end of July. So it's doubly important that you continue letting your views be known, how you feel about this policy and what you do and don't want done, but it will still be in the hands of the judiciary. It's Priti Patel and the politicians who are saying, let's change the law. And I think it's probably right and proper that you express your views and perhaps have a say.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.